Dean, I can't help wondering. Is it ever gonna get that good for me?
Anderson, the only difference between you and that greaseball is that he has a license and you don't.
License to Drive, a movie from 1988 directed by Greg Beeman and starring Corey Haim, Corey Feldman, and Heather Graham. About a teen who takes the popular girl out on a date even though he flunked his driving exam. The movie begins, you see a school bus and it's full of kids and they're all chained to their seats. And then it shows Corey Haim, he's got a saw and he's trying to saw off the chains. And at one point he notices Heather Graham sitting passenger in a topless convertible. And so that motivates him to break free from the chains, and he jumps out of the bus, gets in the car with her, and then they're soon being chased by the bus driver. And they're chasing down through alleyways and then the streets, and then you realize it's just a dream.
Remember, the driver must always see the big picture. When driving through puddles or in heavy rain, your tires may begin to hydroplane. Actually ride on the water rather than the pavement. If we see that in as little as a quarter-inch of water, your tires may lose contact with the surface.
So here you have Les Anderson, played by Corey Haim, and he's asleep during his driver's ed course. And he has an overachieving twin sister named Natasha who doubts that he's gonna pass. After school, Les notices Mercedes Lane, played by Heather Graham, and she's jumping into the car with Paolo, her boyfriend, who has a car and a license. Then pulls up Corey Feldman, who plays Dean, on his bike, and then he offers him a ride home because he missed the school bus. So Les is on Dean's bike and they're riding through the streets, and then they finally arrive at Les's home, and that's when they notice a beautiful Cadillac.
You know, this boat would kick ass up at Archie's. Do you think there's any chance we could get it Saturday night?
Not a chance in hell, dude.
No way.
The Cadillac is his grandpa's, and the reason why it's there is because he traded it with Les's dad because he didn't want to put a lot of miles on it. That night, the whole family is eating dinner, and his mom is played by Carol Kane, and she's really pregnant with twins. At some point, Les is excused because he's going to a party with Dean and Charles. And while there, they're having a typical guy conversation about which girl would lose their virginity in what car.
Beth McClain.
A Volvo. No, wait. A station wagon.
He notices Mercedes at the party, but she's in a fight with her boyfriend, Paolo. Then she tells him, about Saturday, I already have a date. And then he's like, with who? And she points at Les. So after Paolo walks off, she thanks Les, but then she walks off. So he's not really sure whether that was for real. So the next day, Dean and Charles just tells him, go ask her, just see if it's for real. And then he was about to approach Mercedes, but then his dad pulls up in the Cadillac and it embarrasses him, so he walks off. But his dad wanted him to practice driving, so he's driving for a little bit, but then Les notices Mercedes, and he tells his dad that he has this huge crush on her, and he wants to take the car to drop her off at her house, which is down the street. So his dad was hesitant at first, but he goes ahead and lets him. So Les tells him to get out of the car and he'll come back for him in a little bit. So Les is driving Mercedes home, but it turns out she's not really going home. She's going further than they wanted to. So he goes ahead and agrees. And then at that point, he does ask her to confirm the date Saturday. And she was like, yeah, sure. And so she gets his number. So after taking longer than he was supposed to, he goes back and his dad is so pissed. But even though his dad was pissed, he doesn't get grounded, at least for now. So the next day is the big day, and he has to take his written part of the driving exam. He's confident at first because he got the first question right, but then he starts getting every other question wrong.
Incorrect. You have failed.
So the computers malfunction and there's really no way to know who passed and who failed. But the lady at the DMV went ahead and let him take the driving part because his twin sister, who finished way earlier, did so well. So she was like, how different can you and your twin sister be? So they're waiting for their instructors, and so his sister gets a real laid back dude, And Les gets Uncle Phil from before he was a judge.
Last name first, first name last. Now, I love my coffee. It's probably the one thing I truly do cherish on this godforsaken mudball called Earth. Now, what I'm trying to say is that most examiners use a clipboard. I don't believe in them. What I do believe in is my cup of coffee. Now, that coffee is hot, filled right to the brim. If it spilled on me, it'd probably burn me, huh? Speak up, son.
Yeah.
Nobody likes to get burned, do they?
No.
So it's real simple. You burn me, you fail.
So Les is driving all over the city to make sure that coffee does not spill. Meanwhile, his sister's having a really easygoing driving lesson. And after that really stressful driving exam, he actually ends up passing. However, before he leaves, he is stopped by the lady at the DMV.
We were able to retrieve your test results from the computer. And I suppose you already know you failed. God give us and the DMV take us away. You mustn't fuck with the Department of Motor Vehicles, Mr. Anderson. We can make your life a living hell.
So when Les gets home, he tells his parents that he passed. But they soon find out that he actually didn't, and so he's grounded for 2 weeks. Also, Natasha is picked up by her beatnik boyfriend because they're going to be heading to a protest later that night. Meanwhile, Les is in his room, just sad because he's grounded, but he gets a call from Mercedes. She asked him if their date was still on because it's Saturday night, and so he's just like, and he was like, well, yeah, it's on. I'll be there in 30 minutes. So at this point, his parents are asleep, so he has to sneak out. And he goes through the garage, and he's trying to take out his grandfather's Cadillac without making any noise, but he's not doing a good job at it. So Les ends up picking up Mercedes and they go to a club, but as he pulls up to the club, he notices that the valet people are like, really abusing the people's cars. And so he's like, I'm not giving my car to the valet. So he ends up parking across the street, but it's a tow-away zone. So Mercedes goes ahead of him and she actually gets into the club, but the guys at the door won't let Les through. And so he's like, I'm with her. And they're like, yeah, right. While inside, Mercedes sees Paolo, and he's with another girl. And so she ends up slapping him, and as she runs off, she takes an entire bottle of champagne with her. Les catches up to her, and he asks her if she's okay, and that's when he notices the Cadillac getting towed away.
Get off my truck, boy!
Look, mister, you can't do this to my car.
Boy, I've driven with deer, antelope, even bears strapped to that bumper. Ain't no 65-pound sack of fly shit like you gonna shake me a hella different.
Look, I'll pay you. I'll give you everything I got. Please, sir, be gentle.
For 85?
So with no money, she actually has a suggestion that they go to this lookout point that overlooks the city. But on the way there, he's driving through a bunch of trees and bushes, so the car's getting kind of scratched up. And so they finally make it there, and so he wanted to play some music. So while the music's playing, she gets up on the car and starts dancing and twirling on the hood, and it's scratching up his hood. But she gets him and they end up dancing on top of the hood, but he's noticing oh, hey, get off because the car's getting dented. And she's pretty hammered at this point, so he's having to get her down and into the car. So he ends up going to his friend Dean's house to see if he can hammer out some of the dents, which he's able to do, but there's still just tiny little scratches around. And Dean suggests, hey, let's go out tonight. Let's have some fun while you have this car and you have your license. Because at this point, they think he passed. His friend Charles wants him to, whip out the license so he could take a picture of it. And so Les, ends up opening his wallet real quick to take a quick shot, but it's really his school ID. So then they all end up riding together, but Mercedes is passed out in the back seat. At some point, they're at a red light, and then the car next to him wants to drag race, And so once it turns green, that car like speeds forward, but then Les is like driving like real carefully like an old man because he really doesn't want any more to happen to his car. Then at some point, Dean gets really pervy, and with Charles's camera, he starts taking pictures of Mercedes in the back seat. And so the flashes is like messing up Les and his driving, and so he ends up getting blinded. But the car like rears off to the road and somehow drives all the way down a hill, and they end up safely on a parking lot. But still, it's like, ew. So since they're safe and nothing's happened to them, Dean, he suggests like putting Mercedes in the trunk of the car while they all go to Archie's. So the boys continue their night. They go to Archie's, they get burgers and fries, and they're scoping out babes. However, they run into a problem.
Yeah, let's see. Roll the windows. Hey, my hamburger. Hey, give me my hamburger. Ow! 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 Roll the window down. No, keep it up. No, roll it down. No, keep it up. Hey, come here. Archie's, come back! Come back! Come back!
Meanwhile, Les's parents are shown getting like in and out of bed because she thinks that she's going into labor, but they're always like false alarms. And so at some point she has like some food cravings. So his dad gets up like in and out throughout the night. And after avoiding chaos from Archie's, at some point they stop because there's like a huge protest going on. And his sister is a part of that protest.
Shit, my sister's not! What are you doing? Natalie, don't come at me like that! Natalie, don't come at.
They manage to get away from that protest, but they're soon stopped afterwards by a bunch of police because they're stopping drunk drivers. The cop asks Les for his license and registration, and Les tells him, "Oh, I forgot it at home." And this confuses Dean and Charles because they asked, like, well, then what did you show us earlier tonight? What did we take a picture of? And he was like, my school ID. And he finally admits to them that he did not pass his driving exam. And they're like, oh my God, what? Then the cop comes back and he wants him to open the trunk of the car.
Come on, I ain't got all night. Come on, come on.
Hi, how you doing?
What the hell is this?
My date?
Before anything can happen, they're actually called away to go to that protest, so they think they're in the clear. But then they run into another obstacle.
Oh, Maserati. Oh, this is much nicer than mine.
No, stop, Dean. We're going home. Oh, I'm dead. I'm so dead. They're gonna have to bury me twice.
So the drunk guy takes off in their car, and so they have to get in that guy's car to chase after him. And so he's like swerving left and right and hitting things, and at some point he falls asleep at the wheel. They're trying to line up their car to his car so Les can get him to stop. So after that chaotic ordeal, they finally pull over and the car is trashed. The next morning, he drops off Charles and Dean and finally Mercedes. And even though she didn't remember most of the night, she's sure she had a good time. And then also his parents, his mom thinks that she's really in labor now. So they finally get down to the garage. And at the same exact time, Les is pulling up into the garage. And so his dad just finally discovers the car.
Any idea what you've done tonight, Les? What this means to your future in this house and on this planet?
I have an idea.
No, you can't possibly. You can't even begin to imagine.
So while his dad is telling him, like, college fund, gone. TV, gone. Like, sunlight, gone. His mom's, like, screaming, like, please take him to the hospital. I'm in labor. And so his dad's just like, okay, well, I'm going to drive you. And then she's like, no, please stay in the back seat with me. So Les offers to drive. And his dad's like, at first he says no, but then he does eventually let him. On the way to the hospital, for some reason, the car just like stops working. And so none of the gears work except for reverse.
Reverse works, Dad. Honey?
Let him drive backwards. Let him drive sideways. I don't care. Just get me there.
What are you doing? Get off the sidewalk!
So they finally make it to the hospital. And just as Les's dad's telling him, like, hey, don't worry about Grandpa's car. We could fix the damages. It's not a big deal. This crane breaks and a huge steel bar drops right on top of it, completely smashing it. Some time goes by, and then Grandpa's showing up at the doorstep, and he wants to see his caddy. And so they're all nervous at first, but his dad was just like, oh, you know what? It's fine. Like, you know, he's not going to want to just see his car. Like, the twins are born. He hadn't seen anybody yet. So they answer the door, and that's the first thing that comes out of his mouth is, where's my caddy? And so they take him to his car. And after seeing how damaged the car is, his grandpa just starts laughing.
Yeah, I had a little trouble with your car, too.
My BMW?
So early in the movie, Les asks his dad, like, can he have a BMW? And of course he said no. But now that his car is smashed, he's like, yep, well, here's the keys. You always wanted a BMW. And so right at that point, Mercedes pulls up in a topless convertible. And Les is like, yeah, no thanks. I already have a Mercedes. And so he runs in, jumps in the car with her, and he speeds off. And that's the end of the movie. This movie is nostalgic. I loved it. Plus, it featured the two Coreys, and they were such a big deal back in the day. Let me know in the comments what you think. Did I leave anything out? Have you seen this movie? Let me know.
You're in luck, Anderson. The cup was empty.